Okay, well, I don't have a bell to ring, but I suppose we might as well get started. And actually, this is the membership committee that's running today's meeting. And chair of our committee, Diane, wasn't available, well, initially because of crush and harvest, but she may have other issues going on today. I'm not sure. I hope not. Um, but the membership committee wants to welcome everyone to the meeting. And I know on our committee we have Leanne and Andy, myself, and there may be a couple other members whose names I don't know or who I'm not sure of. Is there anyone else out there that's on our committee that wants
Bob
to
Mosley.
I dibble in your committee once in a while when Diane calls me in contact, but I'll be a fray player.
Great, we need your input. That's wonderful.
Bob Mosley is also on the committee.
Okay, Bob. I don't see him on our list of attendees today, but so Bob's on the member. You know, I'd like to point out that the membership committee, of course, is involved in encouraging and bringing in new members to the club. But just as important, we want to help existing members with any questions or concerns or issues that they may have. So I want to encourage any of our existing members that if they have any questions or concerns or issues or need help with anything, to contact somebody on the membership committee, and they will assist you. Or if they can't answer your question, they'll get the answer and get back to you. So I think that's a real resource that could help some people. So to get the meeting started, I suppose I need to call on an inspiration from Chris. Call.
Yes, hi, good morning, everyone. Well, with the heat wave, the fires, the pandemic, all going on, there's a fair bit of chaos in our world. So I thought this quote would be somewhat appropriate. It says, "And once the storm is over, you won't remember how you made it through, how you managed to survive. You won't even, to be sure, know whether the storm is really over. But one thing is certain, when you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. That's what this storm is all about." And that's from Haruki Murakami.
That's great. Well, thank you, Chris. That is definitely inspirational. Colleen, would you like to introduce any guests or visiting Rotarians?
I don't see, I feel like Miss Marianne. I don't see any. Does anybody remember Miss Marianne?
Romper room?
Yes, thank you. Yes. Does anybody, I mean, Richard is our speaker today, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Welcome, Richard.
Thank you.
And I think that's it.
That's it.
That's it. Thank you, Terry.
Okay. Well, the next thing on the agenda I was handed is Andy wants to talk a little bit about the membership committee, I guess, or potential members.
Okay, well, good morning, everybody, and greetings from Fremont, Ohio, the home of Snowfloss sauerkraut and Heinz ketchup. I'm bringing a shipment back with me, so you can sign up next week for your own package. Just kidding. So Diane is the chair of our committee, and she's occupied otherwise, so she asked me to say a few things about membership. So I promised to ramble on for 2 to 3 minutes, and starting with our goal for this year. Our goal for this year is to have a net gain of 4 members. And how are we going to have a net gain of 4 members? And that is by soliciting help from all of you. There's 4 or 5 of us on the committee, but ideally all of us are working on membership. And how do we do that? So to borrow a phrase from the late great Al Davis, just ask, baby. We're asking you to ask all your friends. And so why would you want to ask all your friends? Why would you want to invite your friends and family to Rotary? So I've been doing some research, and I'm going to give you a few reasons why you should invite your friends to Rotary, why you should share Rotary. And it starts with the Rotary International mission. And the mission is to provide service to others and advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through our fellowship of business, professional, and community leaders. And who wouldn't want to be a part of that? And to kind of bring it down to our level, what it means to our club, what it means to the individuals. I borrowed a lot from a book I just happened to pick up at my sister-in-law's last weekend, and it's called The Geography of Bliss by Eric Weiner, or Weiner. I'm not sure how he pronounces it. Pretty interesting book, but just know that all of these thoughts are stolen from that book. So first of all, one of the secrets behind happiness is your home. And in order to have that combination of home and happiness, you have to have a sense of community, and you have to have a history that you're grounded in. And I think that's something that Rotary gives us in Healdsburg, the sense of community, the sense of working together, and a history of doing good things and having fun. And yes, our history is not that long, starting with President Dennis O'Neill to current President Nancy. Our history is not that long as a club, but you can look back to the RI history and everything we've done in the world, and you get that sense of community, you get that sense of history, which bolsters your happiness. A quote that I came across in this book is from Jonah Salk. When he was asked what is the main purpose in life, his answer was to be a good ancestor. And I think that's part of what we do. A lot of the work that we do, we're not going to necessarily see immediate benefits, but we're leaving a better place for those that follow us. And that's what Rotarians do. Aristotle defined happiness as not only feeling good, but doing good. I think Aristotle must have been a Rotarian to come up with that statement. Happiness means not only feeling good, but doing good. And that's what we do as Rotarians. Another reason why you want to invite your neighbors. And one of the things that this book pointed out is that people who are busy are happier than those who are not busy enough. And I think as Rotarians, especially in our club, with the size, the number of people that we have, at times we get to that point where maybe we feel a little overwhelmed. But it's because we're doing good things. We're not sitting at home on our butts eating bonbons. And that's another secret to happiness, is staying busy. And then the last quote I'm going to share with you is from, actually, two more quotes. Noel Coward, interesting work is more fun than fun. And I think that also goes into our mission of having good and doing good and having fun. And then the last thing, and this is a quote from the author of the book: we help other people because we can or because it makes us feel good, not because we're counting on some future payback. There is a word for this: love. And so that's just some of the positive, good reasons why you should share Rotary with others. All of us were brought to Rotary in different ways. And I think it's, what's the term? What comes around goes around, or payback, or whatever. But I think all of us have had some positive, enriching experiences from Rotary. So why wouldn't we share that with somebody else? So bottom line is just ask, baby. And that's it. I'm done rambling.
Wonderful, Andy. Thank you. That was really good. I like the reference to Aristotle. That's great. Okay, so now we're going to move on to some committee reports. I think we're going to start with Dan, who's going to give a little recap of the last board meeting.
Well, thank you, President. Acting President Terry. So I'm the secretary this year, and after the board minutes have been approved by the board, they will be posted to our website. So you can actually see the official documents there if you're so inclined. Our last board meeting was held on Wednesday, the 29th, which is the last Wednesday of the month. Our next one will be next Wednesday. The minutes are approved or presented and approved. The treasurer's reports were presented and approved. Financial records, etc. The paying of our bills. Motions that were presented and acted upon were not that many this last time. One was the approval of the budget for our Sunrise Rotary Club of Healdsburg Foundation. And another motion was passed to send flowers to George Dutton to acknowledge the passing of his wife, Karen. Let's see. So other things that were discussed regarding our, we were just brainstorming on how to deliver our Pearl Harris pins in the current situation, as well as new membership pins. Larry Mills had a conversation regarding, about a conversation he had with Doug Pyle, Lance, and Terry on fundraising. Larry Orr reported on improvements to the website. And let's see. Nancy informed us that the insurance that Rotary International has does not cover communicable diseases or copyright infringements. And then lastly, Andy, as he reported last week, reported to the board about the SRAG, Environmental Sustainability Rotarian Action Group, that he and Jay Beckwith have been attending. So that's a brief history. You'll be able to see them online in about a week and a half. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Great. Thank you, Dan. And probably a good time to remind all the membership that next Wednesday will be the board meeting. So I'm sure President Nancy will be happy to share the Zoom address if any of you want to sit in on that Zoom board meeting. It's always interesting. The other thing that's coming up is the beginning of the Sunrise Rotary golf season. And I think Andy is going to give us a update on the status of our golf tournament.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. So registration has started to pick up, and like anything, people always register at the end. But I've been hearing about a lot of people that are planning to get online and sign up, and they just haven't done it. But with the extended play, we have a lot more flexibility, because literally people can sign up on the very last day and still play. There's a 2-week time frame there. So it's going well. And actually, I had initially heard that Taman Park was only accepting a 1-week pre-advanced registration for your tee time, but actually you don't have to wait a week before you want to play to register. You can call, after you register online, you can call Taman and book your tee time anytime. So it's going well. Starting to get some sponsorship money in. The Trib advertising is getting a lot of attention. So yeah, we're just moving ahead.
Great. Thank you, Andy. Of course, you can register or donate online by going to Club Runner, where there is a story describing the golf tournament, the history of it, and the current status. So you can donate, register there. I'm not going to be able to play in the golf tournament this year, but Kathy and I are going to be happy to do a tea sponsor. So we'll be going online to do that the next day or two.
Thank you, Barry.
Dan, you've got a question?
On that note, we're soliciting gift certificates to local restaurants to pass out as raffle prizes to the golfers. So if any of you have a certificate that's just sitting in the drawer that you want to donate to the cause, please get that to myself or Andy or Terry. And I'll also be sending out a email asking for reminding you of this. Thank you.
Okay. Then I think we're going to get an update on the status of our website, either from Larry or Larry.
I think the other Larry's going to do it.
Was just getting ready to say the same thing. I guess what I would suggest is what I told the board meeting attendees the other day. I would encourage all of our members to take a look at the Healdsburg Sunrise Rotarian website now, and then do the same thing in about another month and a half or so, and hopefully you'll see some significant changes. I won't go through all the details of every suggestion we've made to our new webmaster, but it's, I believe, going to significantly improve our website, not only for our current members, but for the public and anybody that maybe is considering joining our club. So we want to have our website properly reflect several things, all of the activities that we do, how we benefit the community, who our leaders are, when and where our meetings are, a weekly list of who is going to be our speaker, the physical or Zoom, information about the meeting, etc. So we have looked at a number of websites for various other clubs, and in the long-standing Rotary tradition, have decided to copy some of the best ideas that we found. So hopefully none of the other clubs will object to our plagiarism and so forth. But I think that we're going to see a lot of improvements. So please take a look at the website now and then in a month or two, and so you can appreciate the changes that we've made. The end.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you for the
I was just going to ask Larry Mills if he had anything to add to those comments.
No, I just have a reaction.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. All right. Then I guess President Nancy is going to give us an update on the bike tour.
I just want to add a couple comments to some of the items that have been brought up earlier in the meeting. Let's see. Oh, if anyone's interested in looking at our budgets, it's in that club manual that I sent out last week. So we've got our regular club budget and our foundation budget. It's fascinating reading, so it's there if you want to know about it. Let's see. Oh, the website. If anybody is interested in helping me post the speakers to the website, the Club Runner, I'd really appreciate your help getting those off of our Google Drive calendar and slapping those onto the Club Runner. I could use that help. Bike tour. So we've been meeting with a few of us who've been working on the bike tour for 2020, which obviously didn't happen. So we've got another meeting coming up with Bob Mack, who is the representative from California Cycling Magazine. And the interesting thing is he's been working with the bike tour for over 20 years. So he has a lot of history. And we're going to meet with him hopefully by the end of this week and kind of get a brain dump from him and then try to figure out our next steps. One of the things he recommended was that we schedule our bike tour in a shoulder month prior to the big tourist time here in Healdsburg because of the accommodation availability. So he has a lot of really good suggestions, and he's also recommended we stick with the name Healdsburg Bike Tour just for simplicity and consistency. So we will report back in early September what we come up with for the bike tour, and we really could use anybody's help who has cycling experience to be on our committee. We're looking for a chairman. So now's your opportunity. Rotary opens opportunities. This is our theme for this year. So remember, and going back to some of Andy's wonderful quotes, it may be a little painful while you're doing it, but then once you get past it, you go, wow, that was pretty special. And so that's all I have for now. Thank you, Terry, for running this meeting. Oh, Terry's on mute.
You're muted, Terry.
Terry, unmute your camel.
There he goes.
Camels are. Okay, so that we'll move on to announcements. And I think Doug has something he wants to say about the Healdsburg Hospital. No? Okay. Will, are you out there anywhere? I don't see you on the site. Will wanted to say something about the San Francisco Wine Competition event, and I believe he sent an email out to everyone. They're looking for some volunteers, and it looks like a really good event. So please take a look at Will's email and familiarize yourself with that event. Okay, Doug, looks like you're back.
I'm back. For some reason, I'm doing this on my iPad, and I was trying to bring up a second screen, and it's sort of taken me out of this. Can you still hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. You may have read in the paper that Healdsburg District Hospital has entered into negotiations and has closed a deal to sell the hospital to allow it to stay open. They've contracted with NorCal Health Connect, which is a secular division of the Providence St. Joseph's, which owns Memorial Hospital and operates Petaluma Valley, but is also going to purchase Petaluma Valley Hospital. What this will do is they will buy the hospital and continue and guarantee its operation for at least 20 and up to 30 years. If they don't buy the hospital, it will continue to amass debt and will have to close sometime in the next 1 or 2 years, which would leave us without a hospital in our community. But with this purchase, it gives the hospital new life for at least a guaranteed 20-year period of time. What that means is that we have our emergency care for strokes, heart attacks, and general emergency care. The hospital has the shortest ER wait times of any hospital in the county, less than 2 hours to get in and out, compared with 8 to 10 hours at Sutter and Memorial. We have state-of-the-art imaging. We have the state-of-the-art MRI, state-of-the-art CT scanners. We have 4 intensive care unit beds, and we have a cutting-edge wound care center that I'm currently being treated in, which I'd like to keep around for other people that need it. The contract or the deal would include continuation of primary care and other specialty services. in the community. And let's see what else. The big thing about this is that they guarantee that they will take care of the seismic retrofitting of the hospital, which needs to be completed by 2030, at the tune of about $200 million. So there's a lot of money involved with this deal. The hospital's been losing a lot of money because of the COVID epidemic. They've had to close units. They've had to make sure that they had surge beds available, which means they can't take other patients. They've had to cancel elective surgeries. All of this is being turned around now, and they are beginning to see some light. The hospital, as you know, is supported by a parcel tax, and that parcel tax would continue with this new contract. If the hospital were to close, the parcel tax would be continued until all the debts were paid off, but we'd have no hospital. So basically, for no extra cost to you at the present time, this deal would allow you to continue, or Healdsburg to continue having a hospital. It's going to be put on the ballot in November, and it needs a 50% vote of approval for the sale to take place. And that's the whole purpose of this pitch, is to encourage you to vote yes to keep a hospital in our community, and to encourage your friends to do the same, because without a hospital here, medical care will suffer greatly. Any questions?
So maybe we can pair that with the membership ask. First, ask them to be a guest at our Rotary meeting, and then ask them to vote yes.
Okay, that sounds good.
Dr. Doug, I have a couple of questions. I understand that maybe this potential acquirer has the $200 million financial resources for the earthquake bracing and all that. But on continuing operations, do you foresee significant changes in their fee structure? And the second question is, what is it that this new operator will do to enable the hospital to survive that the current hospital management cannot do? Why can they make it okay and make it operationally successful, but the current operation cannot continue? I guess my question is, what are they going to do differently? Why can they do it and the current situation does not work?
Well, I think they have the resources to bring people in when they need them. I don't think they're going to necessarily let people go. There's been a vast outpouring of patients from the community, as we've lost almost all of our primary care providers to Kaiser and Sutter. They think that they can utilize their St. Joseph's network and get people to come in for that. I think they have a better management model, and they probably have services that we can provide, or I should say we have services to provide that they currently don't have in their repertoire that we can subspecialize. I'm not sure how their turnaround is, but they've guaranteed that to pay all the bills, get things cleared up, and have this money. The Provident, which is the owner of St. Joseph's, and this NorCal division of it, I think have a vision for long-term hospital services in communities. They're growing. St. Joseph's is growing.
Thank you for that. And my questions don't mean that I would not support it. I would absolutely support this new operational model. So thank you.
Okay, moving on. I want to remind the membership there's a SCARC meeting hosted by the Noon Club. Of course, it'll be a Zoom meeting on August 25th. Our county supervisor, James Gore, is going to be the speaker. So I'm sure you can go onto the Noon Club website and get the specifics about the login information and the time for it.
Harry, it's Thursday the 27th, not the 25th.
Okay, I stand corrected. The 27th. Okay, Doug, your hand, you have a question?
No, I'm
You're just stretching.
just stretching, yep.
Okay, any other quick announcements? Seeing none, I'll call on Chris Call to do a craft talk.
All right. Good morning. We'll give you the Reader's Digest version of my life. I was born and raised in Ogden, Utah. Some of you might know Ogden, Utah, because that's where you send your tax returns to. There's a big IRS center there. So that's my somewhat claim to fame. I was the second of 6 children, large family. My dad was my junior high school principal, which made for interesting teenage years. I attended the University of Utah, and after graduating, I came out to California, and that was back in 1983, to work as a CPA for one of the large CPA firms in San Francisco. And from there, I gravitated towards the banking industry, which I had as some of my clients in the CPA world. And after a few years, I became the CFO of a large lending institution. Some of you may know American Ag Credit. And I was with them for 20 years. I joined them at the relatively young age of 32 and spent the bulk of my career there. During that time, we merged 5 different times and grew to over $5 billion in assets. So there were a lot of exciting growth times with that company. And then I left to become CEO of North Bay Credit Union, or at the time I joined in 2014, it was known as Sonoma County Grange Credit Union. And since I've been with the credit union, we have changed our name. And we've added four branches. We've doubled our asset size. We went from 6 employees to 37 employees. And we've created, I think some of you know, a cannabis banking program. And we are now in the process of establishing a nationwide ACH payment processing program for cannabis dispensaries. So that's exciting. I have fished in the Rotary pool for my board members, and Colleen Carmichael was a big contributor to our board of directors for a couple years at least. And now I have Jake McKee on my board. Some of you know Jake. So thank you, Rotary, for contributing to my business. You know, our goal with the cannabis banking program is to really make our communities safer and take cash that would normally be transported across our city streets and throughout our community and put it in a safe financial institution. And so far, we've calculated that we've taken about $500 million in cash and put it into our institution and processed it safely and without threat of crime or violence. So we're very pleased with that. Outside of work, I am very active in tennis. I love to play tennis and play at least a couple of times a week. And I also enjoy reading, and I'm a member of a book club, and just enjoy reading a wide variety of genres. And so that's what I do in my free time. As far as how I came to Rotary, back when I was a young man, I was selected to be a participant in the Rotary International Businessman's Exchange Program. And I'm not sure that Rotary still does that. I haven't heard or seen anything about it. But at the time, I was selected to do a 6-week tour of Scotland with Rotary. And myself and 6 other young business professionals were hosted by Rotary members in Scotland, and we got to visit numerous Rotary clubs throughout Scotland, and it was just a great experience. And having done that, I was always very impressed with the quality of people in Rotary and the generosity and civic responsibility that Rotary exhibited. And so when the time came in my life and career where I had some free time and available, I wanted to do Rotary. So that's how I came to Rotary. I'm very happy to be here and part of the club, and just hope to get to know all of you better. So that's me.
Great, thank you, Chris. Thank you for all that you contribute to the club. You've been, since joining the club, you've been real active and a great contributor. So thank you for that. Let's see, I guess we're going to go into recognitions with Sergeant at Arms Colleen.
Yes, thank you, Terry. Lance, do you have a cue up for me?
I can indeed.
Because I know this is a shock. Nobody was born or got married in this week for some reason. Okay. Can anybody tell me by, let's see, raise your hand, what is significant about this picture? Let's see if there's a hand raise. Hold for a second. Lance, can you see if there's a hand raise out there?
Chris has got his hand up.
Who does?
Chris Call?
Chris? Yes, Chris. This is worth $1 million.
Well, it's the Taman Clubhouse, and there's a big tree laying in the yard.
There is a big tree, but however, could you please show us the next picture, Lance? You may have won your prize now. Oh, please. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's our old meeting place, and the tree is no longer there. We have to say goodbye to the tree.
Wow.
So I'm guessing it's because of the root issues that were going on there. But anyways, Chris Call, you are the winner of my undying love and affection. You're welcome. Maybe I'll bring you a coffee, Chris, since you're like literally the next exit for me. So there are no birthdays or anniversaries. Is there anyone? I know, Nancy, your son is being recognized this morning. I'm sure as the president of Rotary, that's got to be worth, I don't know, $1,000 is what I'm thinking. But you tell me what it's worth.
Well, actually, I haven't, he hasn't quite gotten the milestone awarded to him yet. So I will go to this meeting, and then I will get the shakedown on September 2nd at our next meeting.
Okay, I'll shake you down then.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any other important information they would like to share with us? Because you know I'll find out, and then I'll really get excited about giving you opportunities to give us money. Anybody else? No, everybody's quiet this morning. I think we're all still in a state of numbness from the fires and the pandemic and everything else has been. I'm waiting for the locusts, but until they arrive, I'm glad to see everybody's face. I'm glad everybody's alive, and stay safe. Terry, back to you.
Thank you, Colleen. We're running a little bit behind, so I'm going to ask Leanne to save her story about how she came to Rotary until next week. And I'd like to jump forward and ask Ed to introduce our guest speaker.
Thank you, Terry. Today's speaker is Richard Kirk. He's the chairman of the Sonoma County Redwood Empire Rare Fruit Growers. It's a group of people that enjoy agriculture and grafting and growing interesting and heirloom plants. He's a retired physician in Sonoma County, grew up in Sonoma Valley, and he's quite into his fruit trees. Otherwise, I don't have much else to say with him. That's what he sent me on his CV. But thank you, Richard. You can start your talk.
You're welcome. Interesting to learn about you all and some similarities between the California Rare Fruit Growers Association and Rotary. This group has been going since probably the 1980s. Our Redwood Empire group covers Sonoma, Napa, part of Marin, and we have about 340 members at last count. 501c3 nonprofit, so we do community efforts. A number of us do clinics for middle schools. I do a grafting clinic every year for the one in Sonoma, teach 70 kids at a time how to graft trees, and then we donate the apple trees to those kids so they can take them home and grow a tree. We give scholarships to Sonoma State and the JC. Interesting scholarship we gave about 10, 12 years ago to a young woman who took that and went to college and then became a president of our group and now is working on her PhD in plant science genetics at Davis. So fun group of people, all ages, all races, all interests, mostly interested in fruit and veggies, mostly organic, not rabidly so. And the idea being that there are all sorts of fruits and plants that are delicious and healthy, but don't meet all the requirements for commercialization, shipping, and storage, and that. And so propagating those kind of things and teaching people how to grow their own and to enjoy the process of connecting to nature and the ground. So we also have, up until the COVID, one of our chief events was a sign exchange where members get their gardens and orchards, collect cuttings, and then in January have a sign exchange where we've had 500 different varieties of fruits for the public to come in and take samples of and take home. We do grafting clinics, planting clinics, pruning, so forth. So it's the most congenial group that I've ever been with, and very enjoyable to be with. In the past, I myself did a lot of work with the district hospitals. We had a joint powers authority about 8 or 10 years ago trying to help the little district hospitals survive like yours. And it was difficult going. It was the hardest thing for those that are interested in that, like Doug, I think. It was very hard to get the little district hospitals to share administrative costs because the officers didn't want to give up control. You could share a CEO between or a CFO between 2 or 3 hospitals, but the locals didn't want to do that. So it was always very tough going. So I'm interested in what interest you all may have about fruit growing, orcharding, grafting, propagating, hybridizing, that kind of thing. What interests you all about fruit and fruit growing? And so I'm open to dialogue and any questions that you all may have.
I have a question, Richard.
Please.
It's Colleen over here on the other side of the screen.
Yeah, I see you down there.
I have I just sold my property up north, and I had one little pear I took from a tree because I wanted to hopefully turn that into my own little pear tree at some point. So I didn't know how that works, but just out of quick curiosity, what do you do when you want to try and start a new tree?
Usually most, not all, but most fruits are grafted onto rootstocks. The propagation is by grafting. Like you can take I'm not as up on pear seeds, but you can take an apple seed from, say, a golden delicious apple and grow a tree from that. But the chances are only 1 in 100 that the fruit will taste anything like a golden delicious. They have a triploidy chromosome system that changes the different tastes and characteristics of the fruit. So grafting probably started in either China or Rome at least 500 BC. It's known that the Romans were doing grafting because you find a fruit that is what you like, and then you graft that onto something, and even though the rootstock isn't of the same type of apple, it'll produce that. So pears, you could probably grow a pear tree. I'm not sure the genetics of pears and whether that'll be the fruit that you want. Your best bet is to, in the dormant season, take some cuttings from that tree and then either find or buy or a rootstock that fits your soil area and grafted on. Pears are fairly slow to produce. Usually it takes about 5 years before they begin to produce. Apples, 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, that's true, because the pear that we had up there took forever to finally, it was a Chinese snow pear.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, but thank you. You're very timely in your talking today.
Other interests that you have. Climate change is a concern for, I think, all the members in the group, as I hope it is for everybody. We've seen the changes in growing over the last few years. The heat has changed diseases and difficulties. There's a terrible citrus disease called citrus greening, or the Asian name is Wanglong-Bing HLB disease, which has wiped out half of the citrus crop in Florida and Texas. It's a bacterial disease carried by a tiny insect, the citrus psyllid. And that disease has been found now in Southern California. The psyllid, the bug, is in the Bay Area. And so there are the state is quarantined as far as moving citrus plants anywhere in the state because there's citrus industry in California is big, and there's tremendous concern about that. And probably that's because of global warming and the moving of those insects farther north. So it's an example of impact due to global warming and climate change.
Dick, I have a Montmorency cherry tree that produced wonderful cherries this year, just enough to make one pie.
Uh-huh.
I decided to extract the seeds from the cherry pits, and I did. I had no idea that these little seeds are buried into the pit. But what you're saying is, if I try to grow those, they're just going to be who knows what as far as, so the better thing is to take the graft off the tree.
That's probably the best. The best way is by grafting. There's no doubt about it. And you can either talk to people in the fruit growers, or your local nursery may have somebody that knows about rootstock. And what a fair number of the members do is using grafting so that you have a 3-in-1 or 10-in-1 tree. So you don't have to have 10 different trees if you have, if you're urban or suburban and have limited space. You can graft on varieties that are early in season, mid-season, late in season, or different types, and have, like I now have probably 50 kinds of citrus, about 60 or 70 kinds of apples, stone fruit, hybrids, and I now have fruit virtually year round.
Oh.
Virtually every month of the year, I can go out and get some fruit from my small orchard. So yeah, grafting would be certainly the way to go with what you've got there.
Cool. And this past spring, there was an article in the paper about these red potatoes that were originally from one of the potatoes that Luther Burbank developed. And so I bought some, and they were fabulous. But I'm curious, how do you grow a potato? I mean, how do you keep it where does the seed come from? Or, you know what I'm asking?
Well, it's sort of like an offshoot of grafting. If you've left a potato in your fridge or your pantry for a while, and you'll see the eyes starting to sprout, you cut the potato into pieces, each piece having at least one of those eyes, preferably 2 or 3. Let it dry for a day, and then you plant it in the ground, and voila, out pops a potato plant and it's related to tomato plants. They look a bit similar, and it takes 3 or 4 months to then produce the potato tubers.
So then how did they keep this particular potato going from Luther Burbank's days? I mean, somebody had to keep making his potato, right?
Yeah, it's just, like some people like the golden delicious apple. And so they propagate it, they graft it, they pass that on to other people. Yeah, I suppose, again, I'm not as up on the genetics as I might like. And so I don't know about propagating potatoes from seeds. You can certainly obviously propagate tomatoes from seeds. So why you couldn't do that with potatoes, I don't know. But if you keep one potato every year from that plant that you have, you can perpetuate that one forever.
That's a great idea.
And you look at the timetable for planting, I think potatoes are best planted, I think in the fall or early spring, in spring after frost season.
That's when I planted mine, and they just went nuts. It's so much fun to dig in the ground and find a potato.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a great thing to teach kids. I've taught my kids and grandkids all sorts of things in the orchard. I'm known as the bee whisperer because I've taught all the kids in my family and other kids how to not be afraid of bees. If you go out early in the morning when the bees are starting to move around, but they're kind of cold and clumsy, and start with bumblebees, which are even slower, you can kind of sneak up on them when they're on a flower and just gently touch them and learn to pet bees. And the bees are so busy with the flower that they don't mind being touched. Honeybees, pretty much the same thing. I don't try to do that with hornets. They're a little more flighty. But now my grandkids go to school, and they tell the other kids, I'm a bee whisperer. I pet bees, you know, and everybody else is scared of nature. My little 4-year-old grandson was up last weekend, and he was just scavenging for centipedes in the garden and found a katydid. He kept a katydid alive in a little insect cage for 2 weeks, a 4-year-old, you know, feeding it and taking care of it. So it's a fun way to get people, especially kids, connected to nature and not having to stomp on things and kill things, you know, a little nature respect.
Right.
Yes, Ed.
I and my wife have been going to the sign exchange for last 5 or 6 years, and we always look forward to it. It's usually near the end of January when we have inclement weather, but I got into like grafting early on as a kid because my grandfather on the ranch that we live on was in charge of the nursery when we were in prunes, and he would graft on various prune wood onto mirablums, but then he and my uncles would teach me that the pioneers for food source, like you said earlier, you have an apple tree, they would plant it with 4 or 5 different apples that would come into season staggered, 3 weeks, a month at a time. But that was also for survival, when you're out on the plains. But my grandfather and uncles also said, for now on, if you're in a business of agriculture, it's also management of your business asset, so you can keep on selling what you want to sell. That's why, grafting's interesting, just like avocados is another interesting fruit, because you can keep your crop on a tree probably for about 5 or 6 months, and they don't start ripening until they're picked or scored, so that when you have orders coming in, you can do what you want. So we do a lot of grafting on the property on West Side, like 4 or 5 different apples on a tree, and same thing with the pears, because it takes a long time, Colleen, to do a pear from start. So I've gotten actual pears from Asian pears grafted on Bartlett's or whatever in sometimes the next year.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's actually fun and rewarding.
Yeah. Well, it's like one of our members, David Ulmer, is a ophthalmologist surgeon. He's been chair several times. And so when we're doing a grafting clinic and all, David and I kid each other, because I'm a psychiatrist primarily. I've been primary care as well. And so I'll describe how David is very cut and dried, as a surgeon is. It doesn't waste any time, any movement at all, very specific. Whereas I'll talk to the trees. I'm a psychiatrist. I'll talk to them and listen to them as I'm doing all that. But, the apple survival in the early colonial days and early days of the country was primarily for making cider, because hard cider, which has an alcohol content of 5 to 7, 8%, is a way to have a fairly safe drinking supply when the water might be contaminated. So a lot of the early westward movement was helped by Johnny Appleseed, John Chapman, who was kind of an odd loner kind of guy who would take apple seeds from the cideries and then grow apple trees and then sell them to the frontiers people, and they would grow apples that weren't terribly edible, until they learn to graft, and they make cider. So, Ed, you mentioned cider apples in your email to me, and so I want to get a sign or two from you at some point during the dormant season, add to my cider apple collection.
Okay. Yes. Send me an email and I'll mail them to you.
God. Yeah, the group, Rare Fruit Growers, haven't figured out yet how we're going to do things like the sign exchange and remote or virtual possibility. I suppose the younger members might agree to do a social distancing thing at the vets building. But certainly somebody like me who knows infectious disease and all that, and I'm in the age range where me and my wife are vulnerable, I'm not going to be in any large group thing until I have a couple of weeks of vaccine in my arm, and which is really has slowed everybody down. And psychologically, we're all feeling the stress effects of that. Yes.
Are you connected with the slow food movement?
I think on an individual basis, I don't know. I don't recall any official connection. Like we've had a connection with the Seed Savers group, which meets at the Sebastopol Grange. And so I know there are a number of our members that are connected to slow food, but not in an organizational way. Tell me about that. What do you know, Jay?
It's just an interest of mine. I'm interested in what happened to apricots in Sonoma County. It used to be a big crop, and I'm a lover of Blenheims. And you can't get a good apricot these days, and nobody's growing Blenheims. There used to be a couple of growers, and they're gone now.
Yeah, and the wonderful thing is that some of the hybrids coming out of the Zeiger family affair in the Central Valley are just wonderful combinations of apricots and other things. I have 3 Plury trees, P-L-U-E-R-R-Y, which is a hybrid between a peach, a plum, and a cherry. I have apriums, which are apricot plum hybrids, as well as plain apricots. And the hybrids are just amazingly tasty. And yet they're probably not commercialization possible. They may not store or transport very well. So if you could, do you have your own tree?
I had a property. I had 12 trees, and I grew, I think, something like 30 different things on those trees, mostly pluots and pears. My pear trees had 3 or 4 varieties on them. The hard part about having different things on the tree is that the branches grow at different rates. So you have to prune them back, keep them in some kind of shape.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Dick?
Say again?
All right, not seeing any. I want to thank you, Dick, for your interesting presentation there, and our club, in appreciation of your speaking to us. You're waving your arm, Larry? You have a question? You're on mute.
He was cheering. That's the way we clap.
Right.
Oh, that's the way we clap. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was just acknowledging our speaker. Thank you so much, Dick.
Here's back to you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. That's right. Thank you, Dick. In appreciation of your speaking to us, we're going to make a donation to the Rotary International Polio Eradication Fund, and that will be in your name. Thank you again.
Sounds like a good idea. Good luck and keep up the good community work, people. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, a reminder that next Wednesday we are dark, but Thursday will be a board meeting, and President Nancy will inform our members the time of the board meeting, and the place will be right here on Zoom. I guess I'll end the meeting and with a challenge to everybody, and I'm sure President Nancy can clear a spot for you at the next meeting to tell us, so you can tell us your experience about petting a bee. Encourage everybody to go out and do good and pet a bee. Thank you all.
Thank you, membership committee. Edward, another great speaker.
Nancy, I just got some news about the fire.
Oh, that would be helpful.
All right, and it's updated from a friend. Palmer Creek Road is a spur off of Mill Creek, about maybe the 8-mile marker. And Palmer Creek goes way, way back. It's about 19 miles from our house as going west. The fire has gotten into the Palmer Creek drainage area, but they slowed it there from going north. So the fire has been turning south, and it seems like it's moving straight to Armstrong Grove, and they're going to make a stand there.
Oh.
Cal Fire. So
I was talking to my son last night, who was flying some of that fire yesterday, and he also was up in Covelo and then down in Santa Cruz. So I mean, there's so much going on. But he was saying about this fire west of us that it's so the terrain is so steep that it's not accessible by humans. So the only way to get in there is with the planes. But Cal Fire hadn't California had not released Cal Fire to go in there over the last few days because of all the other fires. So it started to build. So that's kind of why it's gotten worse, because the only way to really get in there is with the airplanes. So I'm glad you didn't have to evacuate, Ed. And hopefully the damage is related to the trees and not homes and people. So thanks for the update.
okay.
Well, you want me to ring the bell, Terry?
Please ring the bell, Nancy.
Nice.
Meeting is over.
Great.
Thank you.
You.